Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Let's Chat Reality. I'm Michael,
And I'm Molly.
and we are here today to bring you another week of Big Brother coverage. A lot has happened since we last spoke, so we have a lot to cover there. And we are going to be delving into, for the first time, Love Island USA Beyond the Villa, our spinoff from season 6 cast that we are 2 episodes in, and I am excited. I really don't know your thoughts on it, Molly, at all, so I'm excited to hear your thoughts and delve into all that drama as well. So, Molly, are you ready to get started with some Big Brother?
Yes, let's do it.
Alrighty. So, since it has, really, we haven't spoken since the premiere episode and then the first Sunday episode. So, when we spoke last, feeds haven't even started yet. And it feels like a year since then. So, Molly, what are your thoughts so far now that we have a full week of feeds? What are your thoughts on the season overall?
Yeah, no, it feels like it's crazy that it's only been a week that since we've talked about it on the episodes because there's been so much that's been going on and with all the live feeds now and all the information we're getting from there, but then things change in the split second on live feeds as well. So it's like hard to keep up with all the different alliances and everyone forming friendships or enemies and all that stuff that it's a lot of drama, but it's entertaining, so I can't complain.
Yeah, it is a hard season to keep up with because there's not like set sides of the house or alliances even really. Like it just feels like every day things are changing so much and things are still so fluid. And I'm sure by the time we speak next week it will have kind of solidified a little bit more. But as we sit here right now, things still feel so up in the air and people are making decisions that seem baffling in the moment. Sometimes they actually seem to have worked out, sometimes not so much, but yeah, it feels like things have changed so drastically since last week when we were here that it's crazy to me that it was only a week ago.
Yeah, I know it's wild, but lots of things can happen in the Big Brother house.
Oh, yes, they can, and they will, and they have. So
Mhm.
let's start delving into a little bit of that. So, since we last spoke, which was right after the first Sunday episode of the week, Vince nominated Ashley, Amy, and Zay. That is where we left off. So, Ashley then confronts Vince about why she was nominated. She was upset because he promised her safety, but he got the impression from their conversation earlier that she was paranoid and didn't trust him. If you remember, she kind of, or at least they made it appear to be, that she just kind of kept coming in the room and interrupting all the one-on-ones, and then he kept kind of thinking, well, if she doesn't trust, it seems like she doesn't trust me. So, but to her, it's like, well, I mean, that was pretty valid because people were bringing up her name and you were considering nominating her. So, it seemed like justified paranoia, but if Vince in the DR said that he wanted Ashley, that was his target. So, do you think that this was justified on Ashley's part? Do you understand why Vince nominated her, or did it seem like it was kind of a silly reason for the shower and whatever?
Yeah, I was annoyed that it seemed to be that it was basically just because the house didn't really like Ashley and didn't really feel like gameplay based on it. It just was like getting the house happy kind of thing. Which obviously, like, I like Ashley, so I also wanted her to stay selfishly, but I also just I didn't think it made sense for him to just be wanting to target her last week, so I don't know, I feel like Showergate just it's funny to think back on it now because also now it kinda just feels like kind of a mute point almost,
It
but,
does,
uh
yeah, I know. A lot of this does. I know, like it's
yeah,
like we need to go over what we missed, but it
yeah,
does feel like 50 million years ago at this point. So we
I
won't go
know.
too deep into it.
But I mean, it made sense, I think, in that moment for Vince
Yeah.
because, obviously she was seeming to be paranoid about it all, so it was, I guess, the right move even if we don't appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't begrudge Vince for nominating her, honestly, because it did feel like if he didn't do that, a lot of the house may have been kind of confused at the very least, because it did seem like a lot of people were bringing up her name. Justified or not, a lot of people were. And so I think it's one of those things where, like, okay, maybe you put her on the block, but. I don't know that that needs to be your target. I feel like that's a silly reason to get someone out. I think you kind of do it to appease the house, but then kind of try to work on maybe getting the house to target somebody who's a bit of a bigger threat.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, Zach has a crush on Lauren. Riley has a crush on Catherine, so we start to, see the beginnings of potential little love interests. But the problem is that neither of those appear to be reciprocated yet. So it's kind of a one-way crushes. This is something that we kind of had last season a bit too, with Quinn and Leah. These kind of one-way little crushes seem to be kind of a trend right now on the Big Brother house. But do you feel like you see either of those or any others? We've seen a couple of others since then, potentially with Morgan having a crush on Zach as well. We've seen a little bit. So, do you see any of these showmances going anywhere this season?
I mean, as of now, I feel like because Lauren and Catherine both don't like Zach or Riley, like I don't know how much those can build on it. Maybe they're just like, oh, it's too early. But I do think that Zach could be in a showmance with Morgan potentially. And I don't know about Riley. I feel like Catherine maybe be interested in Riley eventually, but for right now it just doesn't seem to be. So I don't know. I feel like there's still stuff brewing here, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, there was a moment. I mean, there was a conversation that Riley and Catherine had, or well, was it a conversation or was it really just Riley talking? But he was really coming on strong towards Catherine and the feeds, and it was like, you're just gonna have to deal with it. I'm gonna have my feelings, and you're gonna have to deal with them. And it's like, that doesn't sound great. That feels a little Beast Mode Cowboy and Amber esque from BB16. And we all saw how that turned out. Now, I don't think that this feels that extreme. It really doesn't. I think that conversation, excuse me, in particular, felt kind of a little weird, but overall, I don't think that that is going to go that same route. With Morgan and Zach, I think I see Lauren and Zach happening before I see Morgan and Zach because I think Morgan is really, really into Zach, but Zach is really into Lauren. And I don't necessarily feel that changing. Like, I don't see Zach changing directions as much as I potentially see Lauren after getting to know Zach a little bit more. I could see her falling into a bit of a showman's situation with Zach eventually, if they're both in the house long enough. Because I don't necessarily see that happening in the next few days, but I could see it in the next few weeks potentially.
Yeah. I mean, I like Lauren, but I just don't know if she's maybe she will like Zach back, but I feel like Zach is just very into Lauren right now. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, like I think she's said that he's not her type.
Yeah.
So that's why I feel like it would take a while potentially, like if she just kind of gets to know him better and likes his personality, and then I think like potentially she could just kind of become more attracted to him if they just kind of form a very close friendship first.
Mhm.
But I think it would take a while. Like I feel like it would be kind of like, I almost feel like with Tyler and Angela and Baby 20, we saw that where they were not a showman seemingly for the first like basically pre-jury, and then like late in the season they became a thing. So like I could potentially see something like that similar trajectory,
Yeah, for sure.
but we will see. Well, then let's talk about Jimmy a little bit. So, Jimmy. Matt. Jimmy was originally targeting Rachel. So, we saw in the premiere that he was not happy to see Rachel. He was like, it's not fair that she's there. She needs to go. But after talking to her, after they seemed to get along very, very well. And he had a change of heart. So he started to really trust her, feel like she trusts him. And I think it's one of those things where she just kind of won him over. And they started to build an alliance. And so they bring in Zach, Riley, Morgan, and Vince to form an alliance called the Heavy Hitters. Rachel, however, in the DR says that she is still most loyal to Amy, who's not a part of that alliance, and that Mom Squad is her main alliance. But what did you think about the heavy hitters when this was formed? We see lots of kind of big alliances on Big Brother early on. What did you think about this one?
Yeah, I think, I mean, obviously it's still early on, so things can change really quickly, but I think this made sense. I think that they're all strong competitors and all like the game of Big Brother, so I think that also adds to it. But I don't know. I also just like Rachel, so I feel like whenever she's in an alliance, like I want to root for that. So I feel like that's also maybe why I like that alliance. But and Morgan also as well. I like Morgan a lot. And I have to see. I feel like the rest of them, I'm not totally sure if I love all. I mean, and Vince, but I feel like Zach and Riley, they're still. I don't know. And Jimmy, obviously, there's controversies there of his personality just being a lot for people. But I don't know. There's just it's an interesting alliance for sure.
Yeah, I am just happy to see Rachel in an alliance, honestly. Like, I just really was afraid when Rachel first came in that she was going to suffer the same fate as Janelle on BB22. Because they're similar. I think it's easy to compare the two of them. And when Janelle came on BB22, she was an immediate target. Different set of circumstances because it was an all-star season and there were a lot of people that, pre-gamed and all of that. So different set of circumstances completely. But I think it's kind of a similar thing where Janelle was one of a few on that season that were like legends of the game. And people just immediately, like, it was Janelle and Kaser, and it was like just immediately day one, target was on them from almost everyone in that house. And then she goes home week three. And I was really afraid that Rachel would kind of suffer the same fate where it's like, okay, it's one vet and a group of newbies. She's a legend of the game. And I was afraid that, okay, she has immunity week one, but week two, is she going to be able to form those connections or is everybody going to stay strong and that we have to get out the vet? We have to get out Rachel. And so when I saw that she was picked to be a part of, helped with, the formation of this alliance, I was like, okay, I hope that if this can actually become a real alliance, then at least she has some backup. At least she has some allies to help her out. So, that it was a little bit of a sigh of relief, but then it's always, okay, is this going to be an alliance that sticks? Is this a real alliance? There's always those questions, but when we saw that this was being formed, I was like, okay, at least there's a chance here.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, then Rachel and Zach are picked to play in the veto competition, along with Vince, Ashley, Amy, and Zay. The veto comp is called Felony Forest. Players must examine 3 crime scenes and match the suspects to the correct crime based on their footprint, vehicle, and stench. Now, this comp, I mean, I guess I'm glad it's equitable. Look, I will take it. I will take it over like some strictly physical competition that only the big guys are able to really win. It wasn't very fun to watch, at least for me. I don't know. What did you think?
Yeah, I was kind of like, all right, can we just fast forward this?
Yeah.
But I mean, it was interesting.
It was interesting's a word. Interesting is a word.
It's unique.
Yeah, so
That's another one.
Yeah. But Ashley wins. So I was really, really happy to see Ashley win. It's always fun when I think like the first HOH has to then come up with a backup plan and the whole house erupts in chaos. It always happens that way when in week one that first HOH has to come up with a secondary plan and they've kind of I feel like it's very easy early on when it's like, okay, to just accept the fact that we found our target, we found our house target, good to go. Don't have to worry about anything else. But I think with the BB blockbuster, and then of course with Ashley winning the veto, it really does complicate things in a way that you can't just play week one like that anymore.
Yeah, agreed. I'm happy that Ashley won just because also like what you exactly just said with her being the target and then not having that not be the option anymore is like if that's entertaining to see the house have to figure out then or at least servants as well as HOH to figure out who else he could nominate and then also who else would be a target then from the house and who could be voted out since everyone was kind of just set on Ashley being that person. So I was really happy to see Ashley win and stir up some chaos.
Yes, I was too. So then we get some talk about the renom. So Vince talks to Kelly, and he thinks that putting her up is the best option because, as we saw in Sunday's episode, the second episode of the season, the first Sunday episode, not this past one, she volunteered. So she said that she's fine with going up. You know, she wants to play BB in a historic way. Well, I don't remember the exact words that she used, but she basically wants to be Tucker. She wants to like put herself in all the dangerous situations, get herself out of it, and play like that the whole season. She's not Tucker. Although, you know, spoiler alert, in a little bit we will see that she does one thing that Tucker did. But so he basically says, okay, he didn't do it at first because she's his ally. Why would he? That's a dumb move. Now he's willing to make that dumb move though, and put his number one ally up for some reason. And she's fine with it. She has no problem with it at all. She's happy to do it. So, what did you think of this idea from both Vince and Kelly?
I think it was wild all around. I mean, I think no one should be trying to put themselves up on the block, but in this situation here, I felt like, I mean, Vince didn't really have another option, it seemed like. And here he was like, well, this could work out in my favor, so I might as well risk it. So he decided to risk it. And it's interesting to see, like, I mean, obviously we know now, like, Kelly was able to take herself off as she won the BB Blockbuster, but I feel like overall, like, that's not what you want, to have to go into that ceremony not knowing what's gonna happen. And she also could have easily gotten sent home also, so I feel like that was just a very risky move on both parts.
Very risky. Very, very risky. I think that Vince, you know, he says it's high risk, high reward. I'm not sure what the high reward is there exactly. It's high risk, that's for sure. But I'm not sure what he gets out of it other than, I guess, not making someone else mad by nominating them. But I just feel like it's not worth it. The reward is not worth the risk, and I think you have to always think about that when you're making decisions like that. Like, okay, I'm putting myself in a dangerous situation, but if I'm able to get myself out of this dangerous situation, is it worth it? And I just in this case don't think it is. Like, I think it's so much easier. Like, it's week one. I think you can so easily just nominate somebody and be like, hey, I'm so sorry. I just haven't had a chance to talk to you yet, really. Like, I just, you know, I have to put somebody else up. I didn't want to have to do that, but unfortunately, I'm in the position where Ashley, my target, won, and I have to do it. And it's, you know, it's only been a few days. Like, I'm really, really sorry. It's nothing against you. And I think that most people don't hold a grudge for being nominated in week one, just because it's a hard decision, and I think everybody kind of understands that the HOH isn't a hard decision that week.
Yeah, for sure. And it also, I guess they wanted to seem that they weren't working together. So that would be the reward in a way of like, oh, well, he nominated Kelly, so they're not working together. But I don't know how beneficial that is for. And then if she goes home, then obviously that's not good.
Right, exactly. And I think, I mean, people know that they're working together. Like, I just, yeah, I don't think that that really changes anything. I think people just kind of see that anyways and are like confused by it because they know that they're close. So I don't know. It's a weird situation, but Kelly is a weird player.
Yeah.
So Jimmy wants Vince to put up Keanu. Vince doesn't want to do that though. I sound like a Maya. Like, we don't want to do that though.
Yes.
I can't say that
I,
anymore without thinking of
I
Maya
know. I
Papaya.
miss I miss Amaya.
Oh, I know. Bring her back on my TVs immediately.
Yeah.
Rachel warns Keanu about this, and he then goes to Vince and lets him know. So he tells Vince that he should put up Jimmy. So basically, now it's just, you know, it's Jimmy and Keanu trying to get each other nominated here. And Keanu then tells Ava in the backyard that Jimmy is a snake. And Ava informs Jimmy about this. It's a big game of telephone, as you can see here. So Ava informs Jimmy, and he confirms with Vince that Keanu does want Jimmy on the block. So what did you think of all this? This all kind of started with Jimmy. It really did. But it feels like in the end, Jimmy is kind of the one who's most pissed at Keanu for it somehow. So I don't know how this all uh, happened exactly. A lot of this, unfortunately, happened seemingly before the feeds went on. So we didn't get to see all of it. But what were your thoughts?
Yeah, it was interesting because I didn't even know why they were targeting each other so much. Like, also probably because we didn't see all of it from the feeds, but it just kind of felt like unnecessary in some ways. I was like, so it's still like week one basically here, and you don't really need to get such a big target on your back to be called a snake. Like, like that, that's really not what you want to happen now. And so Jimmy being called a snake by Keanu, obviously not good for him. And then Jimmy then wanting to go after Keanu and just making that a whole big thing. And Jimmy's not even HOH, so he can't he can't nominate Keanu. So making it such a big thing when it's not even his week is also not great because he doesn't want Vince then to think, oh, Jimmy's just trying to overtake my HOH, which kind of then in turn kind of happened there when Vince was talking to Jimmy. It was like, well, this is my HOH, not Jimmy's. So I feel like overall, like it was an interesting turn of events or just like conversations that were happening.
Yeah, I think that Jimmy, unfortunately, I really like watching Jimmy. He's very entertaining, and I feel like he just feels like a very old school type of Big Brother player. I think, unfortunately, I don't know that in 2025 and BB27 that that type of player is as because they're not as common. I just think people in the house don't appreciate that type of player. Like I think they stick out more than maybe that he would have 15 years ago on Big Brother. Like I think in the old days, like we had people like Evil Dick. We had people like oh God, well Joshua and BB9 was potentially the worst, but that type of player was just more common, and I think that he would have found more people like Rachel, honestly, like Rachel, like who really kind of connect to, and he doesn't kind of stick out as much. And I think, unfortunately, in this house, he is just coming across as such an aggressive game player so early on and really painting a target on his back where he didn't need to. Like, I think he could have just kind of, maybe put a whisper in, see, test the waters of whether Vince was willing to put up Keanu, and then just kind of back off if he doesn't seem into it. And I think unfortunately he just kind of like kept pushing it to the point where it just kind of became a bigger issue, and then this whole game of telephone started.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, then at the veto meeting, Ashley uses the veto on herself, of course. Vince puts Kelly up in her place. But right before it's over, or right after it's over, I guess technically, Jimmy gets up and confronts Keanu with the speech that he had been planning. He tells Keanu that he's coming after him, says that the only thing fake about him are these sunglasses, throws the sunglasses. It's all very planned speech, but it was entertaining to watch. I still enjoyed it, even though I don't love typically when speeches and things like that, arguments are so planned and scripted ahead of time. But what did you think?
Yeah, I also was like, well, it just felt like not totally I feel like it wasn't real necessarily. I mean, obviously it was like practice and stuff too, so it didn't feel authentic in the moment either. But it just made for some good TV, so I guess that was good. But for people who watch the feeds, you obviously knew that he was practicing that. So
Yeah.
I feel like it just for he just wants to have a big moment, and I guess it happened, but wasn't as organic as it could have been.
Yeah, and I don't know that he got the reaction that he exactly was hoping for. It seemed like everybody was just kind of quiet, except for Keanu, who I thought actually to his credit, had a pretty good line there of, how long did you practice that?
Yeah.
I think that was a good line from Keanu, and I think that it just kind of put this huge, massive target on Jimmy's back, where like, yes, he, spoiler alert, won HOH, but if he hadn't, if a good amount of people had won HOH, I could easily have seen Jimmy on the block. And I think that this would have felt like a huge mistake on his part to just like unnecessarily paint such a target on him.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Then after the meeting, Keanu asks Vince to confirm that Jimmy did in fact say that Keanu should go on the block. Vince starts to backtrack a little bit, saying that he brought it up as an option. He didn't say that I had to. So then Keanu goes outside to clear the air with Jimmy. This one goes pretty well, it seems like. And they make up and hug. So I liked that Keanu's first thing was to go up to Vince to confirm. I thought that that was actually a very good move rather than. Because I feel like if he had just gone to Jimmy and it would have just been a he said situation. And so I think going to Vince first and seeing that Vince was kind of, backtracking a little bit, I think was Keanu's clue that, okay, maybe I was misunderstanding exactly what Jimmy did. Although I don't even know that that was true. Like, it actually felt like Keanu, or Vince, excuse me, really kind of did Jimmy a huge favor there because I mean, yeah, he didn't say that he had to put up it's not his HOH, but like he was pushing it. So like I think that Vince really could have held to what he said and not had it come across as a lie or been like ever thought that it was a lie because I mean he really did do it.
Yeah, no, I was surprised about that conversation too, but I mean, it worked out okay because then Keanu and Jimmy then made up in that moment. So for that little night, they were okay.
Yeah, yeah. For now, we have a
Yeah,
lot more to come with that.
exactly.
But then we start out Thursday's episode that Zay creates an all guys alliance in an attempt to save himself with Vince, Will, Zach, and Riley. They call themselves the Burger Boys, and they are all a piece of the burger. Molly, what piece of the burger would you be?
I would probably want to be mustard just because I like mustard the
Was
most.
anyone mustard?
I don't know, but I'm making myself mustard.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, and
I feel like there wasn't. Maybe lettuce also. I would be. Maybe I'll be lettuce because
mm,
I love veggies.
I think I would be probably the onions because I just really like onions.
Yeah.
No specific reason in terms of like what the onion does with the burger that I think I would be that part of the alliance, but I just like onions.
Yeah. But I mean, the
Okay.
name was unique. I like that they all were parts of a burger, but it didn't last very long.
No, it did not. It unfortunately, well, fortunately, because we hate an all guys alliance, it did not. But Rachel, Mickey, Ashley, Amy, and Morgan, we go from the all guys to the all girls, and they decide that they want Zay to go home if he doesn't win the blockbuster. Rachel, in particular, is really set on keeping Amy no matter what, who she's up against. That is a very important person for her to be in this house, her closest ally. What did you think of this girls coming up with that plan to get out Zay? Do you think that's the right move for all of them?
Yeah, definitely. I think here just it made sense for them to all align in that and getting out Zay. Obviously, they're not going to vote for one of their own, which is Amy, and so I think that just made the most sense.
Yeah, agree. I mean, this is your one chance that you're gonna have to get out Zay. Zay is someone who could easily be go on a win streak and be impossible to get out in future weeks. And so I think, yeah, especially, the girls right now have the majority with 9 girls and 8 guys in the house. I think it's important at this point to get out another guy, make that a 9-7 split. And then you have a couple weeks buffer to where you have the numbers as girls in the house so that you kind of prevent the guys from wanting to form an all guys alliance because it's kind of pointless right now for them because they don't have the numbers anyways. And so I think getting that split, as good as you can, knowing that an all guys alliance typically does form and already has formed. but that Zay is part of that, and so getting out one of those numbers I think is really, really important.
Yes, for sure.
Well, then Zay and Rachel get into a bit of an argument at this point because Rachel goes up to Zay and they are talking about the vote and next week. And Zay tells Rachel that he is gunning for HOH if he stays and will put up people who voted against him. And so he says, well, the odds are decent that he would probably put Rachel up, that she is, as he says, in the pool of people that he would potentially put up. And I think Rachel knows, even when he says it like that, he's putting her up. And so she walks away and tells him, be careful coming for the queen because you will get beheaded. And boy, was she ever correct.
Yes. I know that was really bad gameplay on Zay's part to tell Rachel that because Rachel's got a lot of power and obviously that backfired for him.
Yes, it did. But fun to watch. I mean, two people who are terrible at arguing, first of all. I mean, this is like if I were to get in an argument in this house and I would just get. I mean, you see on this podcast all the time, I get flustered with my words sometimes. And imagine if I'm trying to be in an argument in the Big Brother house. I mean, the funniest part that was not on this show was that Zay said to Rachel that if I'm in this house, you will not. What was the exact words that he said? I don't remember, but he said you won't be win 2 seasons in a row, and then he was like, well, not in a row, but 2 seasons. And it was just like he was trying to correct himself,
Yeah.
like as he's trying to have this badass argument and these one-liners, and he just has to correct himself that it wouldn't be 2 seasons in a row because there were 15 years in between.
Yeah. That's funny though.
But the BB Blockbuster comp we get to now, and it is called Ransom Note. Zay, Kelly, and Amy must unscramble 4 words showing on the screens in the room. Once done correctly, they will form a phrase directing them to a specific item in the room. First person to grab that item and buzz in wins. What did you think of this comp? It was kind of similar to the one that we saw in BB26, where Chelsea, Cam, and I don't remember who the other person was competing, and none of them knew how it worked. And Tucker, I guess, was probably the other person. But they were all like completely lost, if you remember, and it took forever, and it
Yeah.
was it was funny to watch. But this time, our winner here, Kelly, got it very quickly.
Yeah, I was impressed actually with how quickly she got it because I was watching that and I was also confused. I was like, what is this trying to say? But I mean, I guess it makes sense if like someone's good at word scrambles and they can do that pretty quickly when it's a live episode. So it makes sense, but I don't know how many more of these kind of word scrambles they should do because they're not always entertaining to watch also because then like you're trying to figure it out, but then you can't always see all the letters that they're showing
Yeah.
them. And so it's just not the easiest situation. But it worked out for Kelly here.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to play along with. I think if all the words were in one screen, I think it would have been easier to play along because they could have just showed that one screen the whole time, and
Mhm.
then we could more easily play along with them. But the fact that it's like on 3 different screens, like we don't have one view of all 3 screens really. And so it's hard to be able to play with them, and then you're just kind of watching 3 people stand around and look at a screen that you can't really see. So it's not the most fun to watch, but again, I will give it to Big Brother. These last 2 seasons, they have done so much better with the comps, with making them equitable. And look, we see here that Ashley, a woman, wins veto. Kelly, a woman, wins the blockbuster comp. Like we're getting a bigger diversity of winners in these competitions versus BB25 in particular, where it was just Cam and Jared back to back to back for a while, and then what's his name, the winner of the season, Jag,
Yeah.
ends up killing all the competitions for the last half of the season because nobody else could win anything besides Matt every once in a while. So it
Yeah.
was just no women were ever winning, and so I'm glad that at least they've made those changes.
Yes, for sure. I'm happy to see that.
Yes. Well, then we get to the eviction, and Zay is evicted in a 9-5 vote against Amy. Adrian, Keanu, Will, Zach, and Kelly were the only votes to evict Amy. Everyone else evicted Zay, and he's out of the house.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't surprised about that because once Rachel got everyone to agree with her and wanting to vote out Zay, that it was pretty expected. I wasn't surprised to see the guys voting for Amy, but I was surprised about Kelly voting for Amy there and siding with the guys. With
Hmm.
I feel like with that, I mean Kelly was just recently just saved herself from getting evicted there too, but I felt like she could have sided with the girls and gone for his day there as well. So that was interesting just to see that she decided to go for a girl.
Yeah, am sad to say that I wasn't surprised by that because I just think that's the type of player Kelly is, and that's one of my least favorite types of players on Big Brother, where it's just the girl who only wants to side with the guys and is the one who ruins the All Girls Alliance, who just goes back and tells the guys everything. And thankfully, the girls seem to know not to trust Kelly in this case, so I'm really glad about that because I think they could have easily been fooled by Kelly and would tell her information, try to get her in an all girls alliance, and then she just runs back and tells all the guys everything. So thankfully, it seems like they're not in that position where they're trusting the wrong person. But yeah, Kelly is just the type of person who I think she wants to be the last girl standing. She wants to be the only girl in the house. She only wants to work with guys because she probably feels like they're easier to work with and less emotional and all that stuff. Like I could just, I don't know that she said any of that word for word, but like we saw her in Sunday's episode say, I thought we were the guys in Kelly. Like I mean it's like she knows she doesn't want to work with any girls, and it's not fun to watch.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Well, after the vote, all the guys are scrambling to determine who flipped and voted Zay out. It was Riley in the end. We know that Riley voted with the rest of the girls and voted out Zay. But Keanu, who has very wrong reads this season, all this season, Keanu is really, really bad at sussing out the truth. And he thinks it was Will that flipped. So they get into a bit of an argument because Keanu really does not believe that Will voted out Amy. And yeah, it was fun to watch the guys scramble for once. It was very satisfying.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, at this point, I don't know how much it really mattered, though. I mean, it does matter, obviously, for like who you can trust, but
Yeah.
for the amount that Keanu wanted to blame Will for it, like I don't think that made sense.
Yeah, I mean, like it does matter because, yeah, like you said, it matters to know who you can trust and who you can't trust to vote your way. I mean, I think back to BB20 where Falte was trusting JC and it kept being like every vote was by one vote made the difference, and it was always JC that flipped and voted with the level 6, and the other alliance Falte didn't know that he was the one that flipped, and so Fessy famously was always asking who after every vote who flipped, and they could never guess it because they trusted JC. And so I think it is important to suss that out early on and figure out who that person is so that you don't trust them, you don't count on their vote, and you don't tell them information. But Keanu is unfortunately far off the scent.
Yeah.
Well, then an alarm sounds in the house, and they discover that there is a safe hidden behind the painting by the front door. And it is empty because the mastermind came in while they were sleeping and stole all of the stuff in there, which apparently is an HOH key and 3 mystery powers. Valuable, valuable things.
Yeah.
It's very sad that the house got robbed here.
I know. I feel like this theatrics that they're trying to make with this mastermind just isn't really landing.
No, this is where I'm like, I can't show Big Brother to any of my friends who don't already watch.
Yeah.
Like, this is not a show. Survivor is a show that I can say, I think you would like Survivor to my friends who don't watch reality TV. Big Brother is a show that I am sometimes deeply ashamed of watching, and this is unfortunately one of those times.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, the house guests have to scour the sewers, which are pitch black, and find either the HOH key or one of three mystery powers. And they have to get back and put them in their correct slots. And if they do so, they will win whatever they picked up. And there are three powers here up for grabs. First one, and they don't know what they are at the moment. They just grabbing random shapes, and some of them are fake out, some of them are real. But we later on find out that, well, first of all, Jimmy won HOH here. And then the three mystery powers. So Mickey won one of the powers, and she won what is called the HOH interrogation power. So this power will be able to take over any HOH until the jury phase. However, so it's basically the coup d'etat. However, after this power is activated, the original HOH will be able to interrogate every other house guest, and if they correctly identify who usurped their HOH, they remain in power. If they fail to identify the correct person, they will be dethroned, and the usurper will be announced as the new HOH. So let's just kind of take these one by one. What did you think of this power?
I think it's interesting. It's obviously a big power to have, to be able to overthrow an HOH that week. And I think that Mickey could actually get away with it, hopefully. I mean, I'm hoping that, like, 'cause obviously it's contingent on that you have to make sure you still stay undercover. Um, but actually, I don't know because people are kind of suspecting that Mickey has a power. So I don't know how well it will go over with the rest of the house when this does get used, if she uses it. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah, I mean, I hate the coup d'etat. It's my least one of my least favorite Big Brother twists, just because it is so powerful. It's so OP. And there's just nothing that you can do about it. Although this time at least they built in something that the original HOH can do to stop this from happening. And so it is definitely the best version of this that they've ever done, because at least it does give them a chance to stop it. But it's just so powerful. Like, I think the diamond power of veto, where you get to you take off and replace one nominee, I think that's like the most powerful HOA, most powerful power, if that makes sense, that I'm okay with on Big Brother. Because at least it's just one person that you're replacing, and then the original HOH at least still gets at least one person on the block who they wanted on the block. Like, that is, to me, to be able to replace both people and decide who they would get replaced with, it's just way too powerful for somebody who, I mean, I guess she earned it, but
Barely.
I don't know. I'm happy it's
By
Mickey
finding
though.
it.
Yeah, yeah, I'm happy it's Mickey. At the end of the day, at least it's somebody who I at least like,
Yeah,
so I'm more okay with it. But if it was someone like Keanu who got this one, I would have been really pissed.
same.
Well, then let's talk about what Keanu did win, because he also won a power here. He won the Mystery Competitor power. So the person who wins this will have double the chance to win POV during the week if they are nominated, and it must be activated at the start of the veto picking. So when this power is activated, a former house guest, which we now know was BB20's Casey Clark, will enter the house and take up one of the two randomly selected veto spots. If the former house guest wins, they will earn the POV on behalf of the player who activated the power. So, what did you think of this one?
This one I think is a good power to have just because then you have a better chance at getting yourself off the block and it's not too powerful because then like at least like everyone is still playing in a veto, but you just have an extra person for you. So and obviously like a strong competitor is a good incentive there too to have someone playing for you. So I think this was a good power and not too powerful.
Yeah, I actually love this. And I would honestly be okay with them doing it every week for this season, because it's the 25th anniversary of Big Brother, which, I mean, it's weird because it's season 27, but it is the 25th anniversary technically. And I think that's a fun way to bring in former house guests. And, I think allowing somebody to potentially win this every week. Maybe there's like things hidden around the house, or I don't know, kind of like looking for an immunity idol type of thing. And if somebody finds it before the veto picking, then they win this power. Yeah, I like it. I think that it's kind of perfectly evenly powered.
Yes, agreed.
And then Kelly won the last power here. She won the mystery veto power. So the person who wins this will be able to invoke a second power of veto competition exclusively for themselves at the end of the veto ceremony, giving them the sole opportunity to ensure a second veto for the week. They have until jury to use this power. What did you think of this one?
This was an interesting one, and Kelly didn't seem like she even understood it entirely either.
No, she did
Uh,
not.
but I don't know. I feel like with that, it gives you more advantage into getting yourself off of the block, which is a good power to have, obviously, but also not always fair for the rest of the house as well.
Yeah, and again, I like this one too. I what I don't like though is I think it should have just been one or the other. Like I don't think we need two power veto related advantages here. Or at least like I don't know, maybe do one of them now and then in a few weeks uh, activate the other one. Give I don't know. I just think it's weird to have two very similar twists, and maybe they didn't think that both would be likely to be used in the same week, but they were. So it's just kind of a crazy week for Jimmy to be HOH and have to deal with both of these being activated. And then, of course, remember Zach also has a POV related power that gives him like this pocket veto. So if he had nominated Zach, imagine that there would be three extra vetoes used potentially this week, and that would have been just wild. I mean, that would have been like advantage getting on Survivor Game Changers that sent Sari home. But yeah, individually I don't have a problem with this one or the other. So.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, Jimmy, while they were still in the competition, Jimmy helps Kelly get her power. He's just kind of like sitting there by the end when he got his HOH because he got his first, and then he just kind of sat there and could watch as Kelly brings back hers. And I thought that was weird. I thought they should have like forced Jimmy to like go back in the house or something. I don't know. Like once you get your advantage, once you put it in successfully, like I don't think you should be allowed to just like sit there and watch. I mean, like you couldn't really see anything, but like he could tell that somebody was there and he knew it was Kelly because she was talking and made it known that it was her. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely gave Jimmy the advantage there just to know who got that power. But I mean, yeah, they probably should have just told him leave, leave and don't
Yeah.
sit there.
Yeah. That seemed like that would have made sense. But one of my favorite things though in this competition, I love first of all, we haven't talked about her at all because she doesn't really have any effect on this week, but I love Ava Pearl. Ava
Yes,
Pearl is one of my favorite characters on Big Brother in a very long time.
I love Ava. She's great.
But she in this competition just like sat down. She was like, I give up. And honestly, me.
Yeah,
Same.
she's just herself.
Yeah, she is incredible. Her little like one-liners, her outfits, everything. I'm obsessed with Ava, and I think that she is an icon that we will talk about on the show for years to come, and I hope she makes it very, very far on this season. But back to our regular scheduled program here. Kelly and Keanu tell each other about their respective powers. Kelly also tells Jimmy that she told Keanu about hers because obviously Jimmy knows about hers. So she tells him that Keanu also knows, but doesn't tell him that she knows that he has one. So she's keeping that a secret from him. Mickey tells Morgan about her power since they are both a part of the Triple Threat Alliance with Jimmy. And Zach believes that Keanu has a power because he tried to help him get one and thinks that he wouldn't have done that if Keanu didn't already have one for himself. So it seems like these powers are not exactly very secret. Everybody has told at least one person about them. If you were to get an advantage, do you think it's smart to keep it to yourself fully? Or would you want to tell, like, at least your closest ally or two?
I think I would tell my closest ally, and I think in the situation too, when you're all in the same room where it's kind of obvious, like you can hear chatter and you can have someone helping you, like with Zach and Keanu, that I think it just kind of happened that people kind of had a sense of who was getting these powers. So then if you lie, then it's going to look worse because then they're going to know you had it and then you don't trust them because you're not telling them the truth.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's smart. I think I would tell one person. I think you just need one person who can help you out with, keeping everybody else off the scent. You want somebody who you fully trust, though. Like, I think it's hard. In week two, winning a power like this, I think it's hard because you don't exactly know for sure who you can trust enough. So I don't know if I think it just kind of it's very situational, but I think it's good if you do trust somebody enough to where you think like, okay, they are not going to use this against me later on. I think it is smart to tell one person. Like Mickey told Morgan, I think that was perfect.
Mhm.
You just tell one person who you are in a close alliance with and who you trust to give that information to. It builds a new level of trust, like you said, and then hopefully that person can kind of help you out and making sure that you can bounce ideas off of them of when to use the power. It gives you somebody who, like, I think if you keep something in like that, a big secret, just to yourself, I think it's easy to just like explode at a certain point. So I think it's nice to have somebody who it's like, okay, no secrets with you, like, here's everything I'm thinking, can you make sure that I'm not going crazy and making the wrong decision here.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, then we get to nominations. Jimmy nominates Kelly, who again volunteered, basically. Keanu, he nominates, and that is his target for the week. And then Adrian, he nominates as a pawn. And then he has another speech for Keanu. Keanu just pretends to fall asleep. And yeah, these two. I kind of, a part of me hopes that these two make it far together and just continue to be like frenemies the entire season because it's a fun watch.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like at this point, like these nominations made sense for Jimmy, and obviously, like he's trying to get Keanu out, but Keanu has the power, so that's not gonna be great for Jimmy now. Same with Kelly, so that's gonna be interesting to see how that all plays out.
Yes. So let's get into very quickly some live feed spoilers. If you do not want to be spoiled, just fast forward a few minutes here. We won't be too long on them. So we know that, like you said, Casey Clark is the a previous house guest who is the mystery competitor to help Keanu out. He does activate this power this week, so she comes in and wins POV, and like she does. I mean, she had a long stint on the challenge, or is not on this current season or upcoming season, but she is still in the mix over there, and so she's very, she's not rusty with these challenges. She's been doing much bigger, more elaborate, explosive challenges over on that show. So she apparently, we have not seen it yet, but she apparently has a pretty handily easy win here. And she decides, so Jimmy obviously has him having to do a replacement nominee now because Keanu is obviously going to use it on himself, and he decides to nominate Amy. Now, this is potentially a little surprising, but basically, he's decided that Amy's not good for his game. She's probably not going to win anything for him. He can't really trust her, he doesn't think, and he decides to nominate Amy. So, what do you think of that decision?
Yeah, I was surprised about that to see that. Obviously, we haven't seen it out in the public yet. We've seen it in live feeds, but when that comes out on TV, it'll be interesting to see any like reasonings behind more so like in his DRs of why he's wanting to get Amy out. But I mean, because right now I feel like it doesn't really make sense that if he just doesn't trust her, that kind of stuff. Like, obviously, yeah, that's a good reason, but they seem to be kind of close from the beginning. Like, when they first met, like, they instantly connected. So it's just interesting to see that Jimmy is now wanting to target Amy.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things where it's a bad decision because your alliance doesn't want you to do it. And I think that when you are going against your alliance's wishes, I just don't think that that's a smart decision. I think it's one of those things where maybe it's not bad for your game specifically in this moment, but it's going to become bad for your game when people like Rachel don't want to work with you anymore because you're impossible to work with. Like you don't listen to anything, any input from your alliance, and it feels like people like Rachel and Ashley were not happy with this decision. So it's like, why are you doing it? Like, why go against your line? There's other people like Riley who you could have so easily put up and not made anyone upset, not made any waves really. And your alliance would still be happy to work with you and you wouldn't have caused any problems. But I think like it's hard when you're just telling Rachel like, "Yep, I'm doing this. Suck it up, Buttercup." Like, and not even like I think it would have been different if he'd come to Rachel and said, "Hey, I'm considering putting up Amy for these reasons. I know you're close with her. Are you okay with this? Can I make you okay with this?" Like, bring her in the decision making process. Bring Ashley in the decision making process. Like, your other allies just make them feel like at least they were a part of this and had a say. Even if you end up going with that, you need to make your allies feel heard.
Yeah, for sure. And that's obviously not what Jimmy did here. So it's going to be not good for him in the long run.
I can't imagine it will be. But he does. So Kelly has not played her extra comp yet, which we thought was going to be played right after the veto ceremony or during the veto ceremony, but it does not appear that it has been played yet. But he is considering putting up Will at this point, if she does win it and take herself down. So, what do you think of that decision potentially to put up Will?
Will, I feel like, is pretty harmless in the situation, so he's not going to stir up as much drama as it was with Amy. But still, I like Will, so I don't want to see him up on the block.
Yeah, I think this one's a fine decision. I don't have a problem with the Will decision. I think that he should have put up Will now
Yeah.
like, instead of Amy. And that gives, yes, he thought that he would have to do it like, right then, put up Amy, but he might not have had to do it at all. Like, then at least, okay, put up Will. That could potentially be your only nominee. And then it's like, okay, great. Now you have three people on the block who you're totally fine with going home, and your alliance is probably fine with any of them going home.
Yeah.
So I just think like, why did Amy need to be the first choice? I know that potentially it's as target as Amy, but I just think that's a really dumb decision. So I don't know. I think that Jimmy unfortunately did not have a great HOH here overall.
No, it's gonna be interesting how to see this play out, but I don't know what's gonna happen in Jimmy's future, but it's not looking too great.
No, unfortunately it is not, but we will see. We will be back a week from today to cover all of that fallout, but for now, let's move on to some Love Island Beyond the Villa.
Yeah.
Molly, take it away.
Let's get into it. So the premiere just started last Sunday, so now we've had 2 episodes drop, which they come out every Sunday, which is nice to have a once a week show with Love Island, which is great. We still get our Love Island season 6 cast who we love and get to catch up with them as they're all together in LA for this show, and we get some drama here. So, what are your thoughts first overall before we dig into some of the drama we've seen so far?
Yeah, I've enjoyed this more than I thought I would. And I'll tell you why I didn't have super high expectations because this cast is very, very media trained at this point. And my fear was that they were not going to be willing to give what we need them to give to create an entertaining show. Like, I think it's kind of the problem with like Jersey Shore Family Vacation to me, where it's like that cast, like, it's fun if for like a season or two to see them back together and all that, but like they weren't really willing to give too much to the show other than just like drinking and having fun together and pulling pranks on each other. Like, there's not a ton of drama because like they're not going to ruin their friendships for this show really. And if they did, then it would potentially feel like fake. And I almost thought like we would have the same problem here where it's like you're not gonna see like a big fallout probably between like Serena and Janae or Leah. Like we're seeing it with Liv and Kaylor, but I'm seeing so many people be like, is how real is that beef with Liv and Kaylor even? And that's kind of the way that like, and it does feel more real than I thought it would actually. So like that's where I am, liking it more than I thought because I figured that this would be the big focus of the season would be the fallout between Liv and Kaylor. And so far it has been, but it does feel a little bit more authentic than I thought it would originally. And it's always nice to see, this cast that we love so much that we grew so attached to last summer.
Yeah, agreed. I wasn't sure either going into it of like what we were gonna get, just because obviously they're such big names now, and they don't want to taint their images also, and being in a show, another reality TV show that you don't know how you're going to get edited, but it did seem like they also had certain powers that maybe like they got away with also with certain like choosing the producers they wanted and all that kind of stuff, which also had a say in how I wasn't sure how it would be edited and how we would be able to see like what actually plays out. But so far, I'm really enjoying it as well. I think I've been pleasantly surprised to see what we have seen. So let's get into it. So we start off with seeing Kaylor, Liv, Kendall, and Connor meet up for lunch, where they just catch us up on their lives since leaving the villa. And Liv shared that she lived in Pennsylvania with Kaylor's family for a few months, and then they had been attached at the hip, and that Liv was seeing someone, but she won't show him on camera. And seems that he's an NBA star, so she's living it up. But
Yeah.
what were your thoughts on that lunch?
Yeah, I mean that's the problem that I thought we were gonna have is that
Yeah.
like Liv's not willing to share her boyfriend. That Kaylor, we saw a picture of her guy, but he's not on the show either. And like it's all these people. Connor is dating someone who she won't name. So it's like, okay, like this could have been
But
an
now we
email.
know.
Yeah, we know now. No, we do know now. But like I don't think she's gonna be on the show, or like
No.
she's at least hasn't been on yet. So yeah, I think that's kind of the problem that I thought we were gonna have. And so when we first, get this first scene, it's like, okay, cool, it's nice to catch up with them, but like, so we're not gonna see anything that is actually going on in your lives? Like that's not great. But no, it was nice. I didn't know that Liv and Kaylor lived together for months in Pennsylvania. I actually didn't know that. So I mean, it was nice to see like, look, like these friendships are real. And that is the one nice thing about this is that I do fully believe that these people are connected on and off camera. And that's not the case a lot of the time with like housewives and shows like that. It's like very clear that they only hang out when they're on camera. So it is nice to see a group of people on this show that very clearly are very attached together, very close, and have this connection of obviously, having all met on Love Island a year ago, and it's nice to see, them continuing their friendships now.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of the friendships, we also get to see Janae, Kenny, Leah, Miguel, and Serena all hang out by the pool. And they say that they're all still best friends. And they FaceTime in Cordell because he was currently doing some other opportunities. So they're all still very close, which is also great to see that. And also all strong couples as well. So that's been also positive that these couples actually have lasted.
We will see if the same can be said for the season 7 cast in a year.
I don't know how that's gonna be, but we'll see.
I don't
Um,
know. I don't know.
yeah, but then they all go to the Love Island party the following night, so they're kind of preemptively talking about who they're gonna see, and we know that Janae and Connor didn't have that great of a relationship, so she's nervous about seeing Connor. And then also Kaylor not looking forward to seeing Aaron because they hadn't talked or seen each other since the reunion. So a lot had happened in between then. And so just going to be some meetings that they hadn't expected that they're going to have to see each other in this. So it was
Yeah.
kind of just what's going to happen. We'll see at the party.
Yeah. It reminded me a lot of, do you remember after season 1 of Love is Blind, they did that like a year later
Oh,
party thing
Yeah.
where like the whole cast got together at a big party. It really reminded me of that, where it was kind of this very similar vibe of like, oh, it hasn't, I haven't seen so and so in a year since the show, and we're all going to come together at this party. Very similar vibe to that. But so that's fun. Like I was really, once we kind of got like, oh, I forgot about Connor and Janae's whole thing. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm excited to see that. And then of course Kaylor and Aaron. So at this moment I was like, okay, like I'm looking forward to the end of the episode here to see what's going to happen.
Yes, for sure. And then we hear some updates with Aaron. We see Aaron and Connor meet up, and Aaron says he went off the grid for a while after leaving the villa because of all the hate that he was getting online, which was sad for him, honestly. Like seeing him like share that, it felt kind of. I mean, obviously we know why we hated Aaron, but like he didn't deserve that amount of hate that he felt like he couldn't even be online. But then Connor, being his bro, just trying to convince him to get a place in Venice and also trying to get him just to talk to girls, which Aaron's like, I don't want to. But then also we learn about Connor having a girlfriend, but he won't say her name. But now we know that it's Carmen from Love Island season 5. So it's nice to see that they're a couple in the Love Island family, even though they're not on the same season.
Yeah, that was shocking when they went public. I was not expecting that. And so that was cool to see. But yeah, I don't know that we're going to see her on the show this season. But no, I mean, look, I'm sad for anyone who's getting death threats or like an insane amount of hate online that goes on one of these shows. I mean, look, we're seeing it with some of the season 7 cast right now. It feels like there's very extreme sides between like Team Huda and Team Melandria and right now, and there are people going at it online over them, and it's a really, really toxic place right now, the Love Island universe online. So I can absolutely understand why Aaron would want to, get away, go away for a while. Now, I'm certainly not defending anything Aaron did on season 6 of Love Island because I think absolutely he deserved to get some criticism for it. But it's like, it's been months now, like at this point when filming happened. It's like, if anyone is still sending Aaron hate online for that, like, please go touch grass.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like that's what all the fans are doing though, is just they don't see the outside and they're
And
just
look, neither
seeing
do
the
I, but like, look, I'm one to talk, but I'm not certainly anyone that would ever send any hate
yeah.
online to anyone. And at the end of the day, it's a show. Their actions are not affecting your life if you are just somebody sitting at home. So there is no need to, make yourself feel better by making someone else feel worse.
Exactly. And Kaylor has moved on. As we know now, she has a boyfriend, which in the show she's talking about some fling with a boy, but not her boyfriend who we know now who she has because she's also her launched someone else.
Yes.
So it's interesting to see that now, like real time. We know what her updates are, but we're not seeing that in the show.
Yeah.
But we do
And
see,
the nice thing about this show too is there was a pretty quick turnaround. Like it's only
yeah.
been 2 or 3 months since this filmed, so a lot of times on these shows, like it was like a year ago, and a
Mhm.
lot of this stuff is out of date by the time it airs. But this is very recent. Like I think this party that they're going to, I believe, was in April or May. So it
Well, they
hasn't been
said
very
it was
long.
Good Friday, so I think that's
Oh,
April.
right, okay. So
Yeah.
it was April. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like it hasn't been that long, so a lot of what we're seeing is still accurate today.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously things have evolved also, but here we see that the beginnings of the Liv and Killer kind of turmoil that we're getting in this season. So Liv was upset because, or Kayla was upset because Liv's boyfriend had a birthday party and Liv told Kayla that it was canceled, but then Kayla woke up seeing videos that Kendall posted of them at the party. And so then she was questioning their friendship because she thought she should have been invited to go out to the club if it was this big thing that there was a birthday party and that she wasn't included in. So this it made sense for Kaylor to be upset about, but I think she just didn't have the full story, which we later hear about. Like when Liv brings it up, when we talk about it at the party, that Kendall just showed he didn't get invited. He just went. Like it wasn't like it's supposed to be some big thing. But Kaylor then was upset because she thought it was and that she just wasn't invited to it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I do still see why Kaylor would be upset though, because I think that if, okay, Liv runs into Kendall at the club, I think at that point you text Kaylor and
Mhm.
say, "Hey, I just ran into Kendall. Do you want to come? Like, we're all together now. Like, do you want to come? Like, or send a Snapchat or something." Like, I do think that because they had already like had plans to go out that night, like I do think that like she should have probably texted Kaylor at that point, but also I don't necessarily know that I would be like friendship ending to not do that. Like I think it would have been nice to do it, but I don't know what time it was. It could have already been like 1 a.m. and you think that like there's it's too late and Kaylor's probably asleep. So I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't begrudge them for not doing it.
yeah, I feel like it was more just like Kaylor felt FOMO and she wanted to be there, and then Liv didn't even realize that there was anything wrong.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting convo we're seeing from Kaylor's perspective, and then on the other side when Liv was talking to Kendall, and then everything was like, oh, like no drama between me and anyone, with like Liv going into the party thinking she was totally fine, but then at the party, obviously things went down there. Before that happened, Kaylor and Aaron also talked at the party, and they decided that they were going to be cordial with each other, and that they could just move on and try to just see each other as friends and like not try to be causing any issues there, which was good to see that just having more healthy communication there.
Yeah, I was happy to see this conversation. Kaylor came in really hard at him at the reunion, and I deservedly so. But I was happy to see that she had, softened her stance and was willing to at least say, okay, we don't need to we're not going to get back together. This is not a possibility, like, but we can see each other at a party because we have a lot of the same friends and you don't need to run away and hide from me. Like it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And then she did invite him to see her new apartment. But I think she really did mean it to just be friends.
Yeah, I know that was interesting. I think she was just nervous in that moment when she said
Yeah.
that, so it wasn't really like she meant for anything to happen.
And I think
But
it's one of those things you say knowing that the other person's going to probably like not take you up on it.
exactly. But then this is when more of the drama happened with Kaylor and Liv. They go at it here at the party, and Liv says that the party was moved to another day so that they just went to dinner, and then Kendall just happened to be at the same club they went to afterwards. So here's where we kind of got that explanation. But then Kaylor's still upset that she didn't text her, and Kaylor also brings up a situation from the past about a camera where Liv admitted lying to her. So it just seemed like there was some built up stuff here on Kaylor's end that she hadn't fully addressed with Liv. Liv thought things were fine. Obviously they weren't. So it was just some more drama there.
Yeah, this is hard because I really do like both of them and I want them to be friends. I think I'm more on Kaylor's side in general with this because I do think that once somebody shows you in multiple different situations that they're doing kind of shady type things, like I think all of these individually can be explained away pretty easily and none of them seem big. But I do think that like all of them together, it's like, maybe I should question things. Like maybe something's a little bit off here. So I can see that, but I hope that Kaylor doesn't overreact to this because I think that none of these are friendship ending. I think that maybe it's just like, okay, I'm going to reevaluate slightly and not be quite as close as we once were.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's kind of where she was at, like after the conversations, and more so what we're seeing of her talking to other people too. But I mean, there's still a lot to come. And obviously, like now also things have evolved, but in this moment, like, it seems like it's not gonna be a friendship ending thing, which
Yeah.
is good. But then we see Janae, Kendall, and Liv meet up at Liv's place, and Janae says that Kenny told her that Connor had apologized to her via DMs, but she doesn't read her DMs, and she thought that Connor should just have given her a public apology since he publicly came for her. And I felt like it was kind of just in the past. Like, I don't know why Janae still is bringing up all this stuff with Connor. Like, it was on a show 9 months ago at this point, and it's like, can you just move on? Like, you're happy with Kenny. But it's funny to see Janae still hung up about it because, I mean, at least she's probably the only one who actually cares, but she cares. So she's bringing it up.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's like Janae probably thought Connor was out of her life forever, and like it's an ex boyfriend technically. Like you don't miss him. You just kind of it's like okay, he's gonna go and live his life. She'll live her life. They don't need to be connected in any way. And then once she finds out that he's on this show, which maybe was a surprise to her a bit, because I think everybody was kind of surprised to see Connor as a full time cast member here
Mhm.
it was like, oh, I don't want to see him. Like, I don't want anything to do with him. Like, yeah, I'll do the show, but like, I want it to be authentic, and he's not someone who's authentically in my life. And so I think that she's kind of coming up with reasons probably that are like not anything that she thinks about every day. But it's
Yeah.
like, okay, they're asking her to explain why she doesn't want anything to do with Connor. And so it's like, well, he talked about all this stuff about me on podcasts after the show ended and I don't really, he hasn't apologized. And she thought he hadn't apologized, which I guess he did. But it's like, okay, you're going to go into my DM requests and like apologize to me there. Like, you could have figured out a way to get my phone number, I'm sure. Or,
Yeah.
like you could have gone on another podcast and said, hey, I was in my feelings, said some things, I apologize to Janae. I don't, I hope we can be cordial in the future type of thing. And so, yes, it seems silly for her to still be like actually upset this much after this much time. But I don't know that she actually is. I think it's probably more so like these two are forced to now be together, and she, at least on her end, never wanted to really see him again.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I mean, is making Connor more relevant in this circle right now. So at
That's
least
true.
there's that.
When you try
Uh,
to ice someone out, it always makes them more relevant.
yep. And then Kayla meets up with Leah and Serena, and she tells them that she's been seeing Caleb, who is part of the Montana Boys, and they had a porta potty makeout. And that she's not interested in pursuing anything with Aaron anymore. But even though she did ask him if he wanted to come over and see her place, that was just a friendly gesture. So it seems like she has moved on, trying to have a hot girl summer. But I mean, now we know she has a boyfriend. But it's fun to see her at least getting out there and talking to other people and living her life.
Yes, I'm happy to see Kaylor seemingly very happy with the new guy, and this is obviously very early on at this point. But he seems cute, and I support it. Is it the same? She's the same guy she's still with, right? Or
No, it's
no?
not
Oh,
Caleb.
it's
His name is
not.
Yeah, his name's like Jalen.
Oh, okay.
I was actually just looking at it because I was stalking
Is she
Taylor
with
and
Jalen
Liv.
from the season of Love Island?
No, different
No, I know. I'm
Jalen.
kidding.
Um, let's see what his name
Okay.
is.
Well, no, I'm happy that she is with somebody, even if it's not this
Yeah.
Montana boy.
Yeah, because she posted him on her
Yeah,
Instagram.
no, I can picture him. I just couldn't remember the picture
Oh,
that we
his name is
saw of
Torin. Torin. Okay, I know his
Torin.
name.
That's
But yeah,
right. Okay, that sounds right.
Torin.
Okay.
He only has 12,000 followers, so I don't know how they met. Um, but maybe they have some mutuals. So
It's basically community service work she's
yeah,
doing.
it's community service.
It's very
He's
nice
a
of her.
normal guy.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I mean, happy for Kayla though. She seems happy with Torin, even though in this conversation she's talking about someone else. But then we also had Connor's birthday party, which happens to be around the same time, which is funny. But then Kaylor talks to Connor, and Liv talks to Kaylor's best friend, Kaylee, who came with Kaylor to the party. and they both don't talk to each other though. Kayla and Liv don't talk, but they're talking about the story of their drama and all that's going on. And so it kind of seemed like they just were not in a good place to talk to each other here. So they didn't talk about their drama. But the next day, Liv and Janae tricked Kayla into thinking that it's only going to be Kayla meeting Janae for lunch, but Liv was there too. So they all three are together, and Janae is the mediator there and trying to get Kayla and Liv to talk to one another and express their feelings. And seems like they kind of aired it out somewhat. We have a to be continued though, so we'll have to see. And we also obviously have a lot more to go throughout the season for seeing how this evolves. But I was looking, as I was saying, on Kayla's Instagram today, and she does follow Liv. So, and Liv follows Kayla. So I'm hoping that
Okay.
we get some resolution soon. But at least right now we are getting some real drama happening with their friendship.
Yeah, and like they, in promoting the show, they had done some interviews and were asked like where they are today, and it seems like they are not best friends, but it seems like they are in a decent place, like in a better place than they were at this point that we're watching right now. So I do think that's good. Like if this gets a second season, I could see them, really like having a conversation early on, really hashing things out, and like fully moving on, and maybe not getting back to the place where like they were when they were living together, but getting back to a decent place where like they can actually have fun together. And I
Yeah,
hope they can.
definitely. But I mean, I'm enjoying it so far, and I love seeing this cast on our screens again.
Yeah.
So if you haven't started watching Beyond the Villa, I'd recommend it. And I don't know how many episodes we're gonna get of it, but
I think
every
10.
10, yeah,
I
that
think
sounds
so.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll still be covering that as we go through more of Big Brother. But thanks so much for listening, everyone, and make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts and follow us on social media at Let's Chat Reality. And we'll chat with y'all again next week.
Bye everyone.